Welcome to the studio. Our guest today is Rabbi Meir Bargeron. Welcome to the studio, Rabbi.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's so good to be here.
How are you?
I'm doing great today.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Let's get into it.
Okay.
Well, first of all, let me thank you for coming in.
Sure.
We've been trying to do this for a while, and
Yeah.
it's been my fault that it hasn't worked out. So I'm so grateful that you were able to come in. I want you to know that.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Thank you. So let's get into it. Where are you from?
I was born in Bay City, Michigan.
Okay.
I grew up north in Petoskey, Michigan. I moved around a bit.
Where's Petoskey?
It is a beautiful little town on the tip of the Lower Peninsula on the Lake Michigan side.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's a beautiful place to be.
And where did you go to college?
I went to Michigan State University.
What did you study?
I studied music and English education.
Okay.
Kind of an interesting combination, but yeah.
What were you looking at doing?
Oh goodness, that feels like a lifetime ago.
Of course.
I was thinking about being a musician.
Okay. What instrument?
Singing. I'm a singer.
Okay.
And so life happened, and that wasn't the right course of study for me. And so
Okay.
I said, what am I going to do? So I moved to English education, so I at least could teach. And I never ended up teaching.
Never ended up
No,
teaching.
yeah.
No. What did you end up doing?
Well, right after college, I moved to the Bay Area in California.
Oh.
Yeah, and I worked in the high tech industry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a vast difference from.
It is. I was, I could string a couple words together, so I worked in marketing and communications positions.
Very nice.
And then later in human resources.
Very
Yeah,
nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
How did you like California?
It's a wonderful place to live. I've lived there twice in my life, and of course the climate is very agreeable. And I've lived in San Francisco and Los Angeles, and they're both
Okay.
wonderful cities.
All right.
But I'm very happy to be here in Indiana. So.
Yeah. But where did you attend rabbinical school?
I went to Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion.
Okay.
Which has a campus in Los Angeles, Cincinnati, New York, and Jerusalem. So,
Okay.
But I started in Jerusalem for a year, and then I finished in LA.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you work in a kibbutz?
I visited a kibbutz. Mostly I was in traditional classes. I was an intern for a few months doing chaplaincy at a nursing home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When were you, given the fact that you attended rabbinical school, I'm certain you must have had a moment with God that you were called
Yeah.
to become a rabbi. What was that process like?
Wow. Yeah, it was. As you might infer from the questions you've already asked, I had done other things in my life.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So I was in my mid 40s.
Wow.
And I just began to find that Judaism, Jewish life was becoming a greater and greater part of my focus, my interest, my attention, and I had always felt that I wanted to connect with people, and I was working as a social worker, but I realized that I really wanted to help people connect with their Jewish lives, help people connect with God, be able to basically do Jewish and be Jewish all the time.
Okay.
And that began a process of some really close examination and personal discernment, and it became really clear to me that that's what I really needed to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was growing up in Michigan, I don't think of that as being a traditionally heavily Jewish populated area.
Yeah.
Was it?
There are
town that you
actually
grew up in?
not where I grew up.
Okay.
Where I grew up, the Jewish community is very, very, very small.
Okay.
There's a very large and vibrant Jewish community in the Detroit area,
Yeah.
and as well as communities in Grand Rapids
Uh-huh.
and in other
The larger
cities in
cities.
Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you about what brought you to Indiana.
Yeah. Well, I was finishing rabbinical school and was about to be ordained, and when I met the people here at Congregation Achdut V'Shalom, a lot of things really just came together for me,
Okay.
and I think for them, and it became really clear that this is Fort Wayne's a wonderful city, and the Jewish community here is very special, and the congregation is just felt like a place where I could I could do the work that I wanted to do. And then also coming back to Indiana because I have family in the region. That was a wonderful gift to be able to be close to my mother, who's just a few hours from here, and my brother, who's just a couple hours away.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Is it just you and your brother?
Yeah, there's just two of us. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's just me and my sister.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I take that back. I have a half brother.
Oh, wonderful.
Who I just call brother, but I wasn't raised with him, so sometimes I'm like, I just have a sister, and then I have to remember, oh no, you have a brother.
That's right, you sure do.
I sure do. I sure do. So forgive me, Keith. Anyway, you said that the Fort Wayne Jewish community is very special. What is so special about the Fort Wayne Jewish community?
Well, we're not a large community.
Okay.
We were larger in the mid-century, 20th century period and earlier, but we have shrunk a bit over the years. But we have a community that is really proud of its history.
Okay.
And here's one piece of history. So the temple in Fort Wayne is the first Jewish congregation in Indiana.
Really?
The very first one here.
Oh.
Founded in 1848.
1848.
That's right, 1848. We just celebrated our 175th anniversary.
My goodness.
Yeah, yeah. So we know who we are, and we're very, very proud of our history, and also I think that it's really clear that the history of the Jewish community of Fort Wayne is interwoven with the history of Fort Wayne.
Okay.
Because we were here so early. So we're proud of who we are. We are a very tight community with each other. We have, I think, a really cohesive community. And the congregation that I serve is just has some amazing people who are curious and interested, and we do a lot of programming. And it's just a wonderful place to be able to be Jewish. No one's going to do Jewishness for you in a smaller community like ours. We have to do it ourselves.
Okay.
And we have just a very, very active, engaged group of people here who want to do just that. Now,
when you say do Jewishness, what does that mean? What does that mean for you?
What that means to me is, let's just look at congregational life. I am the only clergy. It's me.
Okay.
And we have a small staff. We have a wonderful staff, but it's a small staff. So that means that for things to happen, our congregants have to be, hands-on involved. And the thing is, they always have been.
Yeah.
And so people understand that that community is what you make of it.
Okay.
And
you are community.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I think that I'm blessed to be able to be in a position to guide that. But it's really on the congregants, the members of the community to really make that happen.
Okay. Let me ask you, what is the most important thing to know about the Jewish community in general, and also about here in Fort Wayne?
Sure. Wow. That's interesting. That's a really interesting question, because the Jewishness has multiple dimensions, and I think in America we tend to think about religion, like this person's Christian, this person's Jewish, this person's Muslim, or within a Christian community, they're Catholic, they're Lutheran, they go to the evangelical church down the street, and certainly Judaism is the religion of the Jewish people.
Right.
But I think also it's really important for people to understand that we see ourselves as a people, a people with a history. And so that's one important thing. Our religion isn't the only dimension of what it means to be Jewish. We have culture. We have traditional languages.
Right.
We have food.
Right.
We have our special way of celebrating holidays. There is actually diversity within the Jewish community. People who come from whose heritage is in different parts of the world have different customs. And so I think it's important for people to understand that. But coming back to religion, Fort Wayne is the city of churches.
Yes.
And it's wonderful. We have a wonderful faith community here, and I love the connections and the work that I get to do with my interfaith colleagues.
So we were talking earlier before we got on camera.
Yeah.
We were talking about the lovely Annie Epling.
Yes, she's great.
Yeah. And do you interact with other churches here in the community frequently?
I do. And we work together on issues of common interest. We work together on certain social justice activities. Many of us come together every year just before Thanksgiving for the Interfaith Thanksgiving service.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Where is that?
It's held at the temple.
Oh, okay.
But we had, oh my gosh, I don't know, like eight or nine clergy from different faith traditions, including non-Christian
Okay.
traditions. So I'd say that's sort of the core of the interactions that I have is with that community.
Okay.
And so, getting back to let's say Christian Jewish relations. I encounter many people who are very respectful and very interested in Judaism as a religion. And the thing that I think is most helpful for people to know is that to understand Judaism, of course, we read the same books. We call it the Hebrew Bible. Christians refer to it generally as the Old Testament.
Right.
For the most part, we're talking about the same books. And Judaism, of course, embraces what is found there in Scripture, but actually we have a whole post-biblical tradition as well.
Okay.
So to understand our religion, actually, you won't see all of it in the Bible. So every once in a while, like for example, Hanukkah. That's a wonderful holiday. It's a holiday most people recognize, and you're not going to find it you're not going to find much mention of it in the Bible. It's something that happened post-biblically. So there are aspects of our faith that have evolved over time, and so I think having people understand that the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, is very important.
The Torah?
Yeah, the Torah would be part of that.
Okay.
Absolutely. It includes all of that, but plus a really rich textual tradition that came after the Bible. So,
Okay.
yeah.
What is the most misunderstood thing about the Jewish community?
Well,
I mean, we've seen anti-Semitism
Sure.
on the rise around the world.
absolutely, and at an incredibly accelerated rate
Yeah.
in recent years. I think the way I understand your question, I think there are misconceptions, there are stereotypes,
Right.
there are myths
Right.
about the Jewish community. It's hard to even really dignify them by describing them. But I would say that there has been a fear and a hatred of Jewish people in many societies for over many centuries.
Correct.
It just we can't stamp it out. It just keeps coming back again and again and again. And certainly the Shoah, the Holocaust, would be a very obvious example of that. But also there are things that are much smaller, that are everything from the term microaggressions.
Microaggressions, right.
To outright discrimination. An example, excuse me, I fix that.
That's all right.
An example would be like, say, in the history of many cities, including the history of Fort Wayne, Jewish doctors were not permitted to practice at some hospitals. And in Fort Wayne, at one point in history, there was one hospital, St. Joseph Hospital,
Yeah.
which has sadly been is no longer.
Right.
But it was run by Catholic nuns, and they welcomed the Jewish physicians so that they had a place where they could deliver babies, where they could make sure that or visit their patients when they came to the
Right.
hospital. All of that. So that is an example of the kinds of ways that anti-Semitism has really impacted and continues to impact our community.
Okay, all right. Now I want to talk with you about, we're switching subjects
Yeah.
here. I want to talk to you about your lovely husband.
Oh, yeah.
How did you meet?
Yeah, so his name's John, and we met through friends.
Which is the best way to meet?
Absolutely. And you have people in common.
Yep.
We were both in our 40s, and had lived enough to recognize that when you find something really good and really special, you hold on to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you recognize
Absolutely.
it. Recognize it.
Yeah.
And we had talked about when you came out, and you had shared that you came out at age 18.
Yeah.
Which was you were sharing that it
I
was...
graduated from high school in 1985.
Okay.
So that gives you a picture of the world at that time, and I think I was fortunate to know who I was at at 18.
You told your parents.
It took a few years, but I told my parents a few years later.
Yeah.
I was away at college, so it was kind of easy.
Yeah.
You know.
And how did they react?
It took a little time, but
Okay.
we all came to a
And
very
you worked through
very
it.
good, very, very good place. And my parents,
Yeah.
my dad died a few years ago.
I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. But I had a very good relationship with both of my parents, and
And they knew who you were.
they knew
and
who-
that was the
Yep,
most
yep.
important thing.
That's right. And my mother is still, is still very much a part of my life, and is here frequently, and
Wonderful.
and is and includes my husband as part of her family.
And you've got a lovely doggie as well.
Yeah. Well, yes. So you obviously have been looking at my social media. So yes. So we have a dog. He's a 16-year-old poodle Bichon mix.
Uh-huh.
And so
He's a cutie patootie.
Thank you. I think so too. I have a little dog bed for him under my desk.
You do.
At the temple. Yeah. So when he's
So
there,
he goes to temple too.
sometimes he does. Yeah. And he sleeps right there.
What we talked about when we talk about coming out in the 80s, you graduated in 85, you came out in the 80s, and that was a pivotal time
Yeah.
for the gay community
Yeah.
in that the AIDS epidemic,
Yep.
which just wiped out so many lovely, lovely people. What was it like growing up being a gay man in the 80s?
Sure. Well, on one hand, I was an entirely unaware 18-year-old, right? The way we are. It takes a while
Sure.
for us to,
That's right.
to grow up and mature, and I was no different than anyone else in that way. I think that there was a sense of strong need for activism because this was a period of time where the president of the United States couldn't even say the word, where there was very little organized funding for medication research. There was really no treatment,
Right.
and then the initial treatments were more toxic than anything and weren't that effective, and so there was a real strong sense of activism that we needed to stand up, to act up, which was the name of an organization from that period. I'm
Right.
calling Act Up.
Right.
So there was that, and then also I think from the other part of our lives, so much has happened since then. So LGBTQ civil rights protections that are not unusual anymore. Didn't exist in most places. Of course, we couldn't marry,
Right.
and so there was a lot of the world was a very challenging place, and so fortunately, I think largely due to the work of people who came before us, we stand on their shoulders, as they
Yes.
say. Gradually things got better.
Okay.
And to take a step back in terms of returning to HIV/AIDS.
Sure.
When I was in graduate school, I did a project where I was interviewing LGBTQ older adults, so anybody from like the age of 60, and I talked to some people in their 80s. And I remember talking to one person, a man, and he told me, he showed me his address book,
Okay.
and he showed me all the names
That he had
that were
marked
crossed
out
out, and
because they had died.
because they had died, and all the funerals he was going to when he was in his 20s,
Oh my gosh.
right? And that's not normal,
Right.
right? So it had an enormous impact on a community. We lost a generation of vital people
Yeah.
to HIV/AIDS, and thank God there are effective treatments, and it is something that people can live with now.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's heavy.
It is heavy.
But it's also the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for painting that picture and sharing your experience. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet.
And you said earlier when we were talking, there's still a lot of work to be done.
Sure.
Yes, there's still. And speaking of marriage, how many years have you and your husband been married?
We were married in 2015.
Okay.
So that was coming. We're coming up on 9 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So So it's been a wonderful journey.
Yeah, yeah. What is the key to a healthy, happy marriage?
I think two things.
Okay.
One is communication,
Okay.
which isn't just it's a skill. It's talking about things when maybe you don't want to talk about them.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is striking a healthy balance between autonomy, like these are the things that make me happy in my life. These are the things that are important to me.
Yeah.
And respecting the autonomy of your partner.
Okay.
That we aren't always wanting or doing the same thing at the same time. We need space to be able to be the whole and complete human beings that we are created to be.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it can be challenging to remember that. Maybe just me. And I have found attending to those two things has been really important.
Wow.
We'll see what John thinks after he hears this.
Hopefully you like it, John. I did my part. If one wants to learn more about the Jewish community, where do they go?
Wow. Well, there are some very good books and information out there. There's there's some good websites.
Yeah.
There's some websites that aren't so good. Maybe it's hard to tell which one is which if you
Sure.
don't know. But there's a great website called My Jewish Learning.
Okay.
My Jewish Learning.
Okay.
And it has good information. But so people can do self-study
Yep.
like that. Go to the library. We're sitting in a library right
Yes,
now.
we
Talk to a
are.
librarian. There's a number of good books here.
Yeah.
And then I think people who find that they're needing to know more, they want to know more, it's maybe personal, becomes more
Yeah.
personal for them. Pick up the phone and you call a rabbi,
Yeah.
and you come in and we have a conversation.
Let me ask you, what does a rabbi do?
Wow. What does a rabbi do? So the word rabbi
Teacher.
is teacher. So I think that is like one of the defining characteristics. But in America, we function generally as clergy do as well. So so we teach, we provide pastoral care for people in difficult moments.
Counsel.
That's right. We celebrate life cycle events. Births, bar and bat mitzvahs, weddings. We come together for funerals, all of
Yeah.
the things in life where community comes together. Rabbis are certainly a part of that. We lead prayer,
Yeah.
and then I think it comes back to teaching.
What? I just had a question in my mind and then it escaped me. So we're going to change topic here.
Okay.
I know that you like Sex and the City.
I do. Yeah. It's a
Is
great
that
show.
your guilty pleasure?
I can thoroughly embrace, high quality escapist TV. Absolutely, it has a place. In my life.
What's
yes.
your favorite show? And then we'll get back to Sex and the
Oh
City.
well, probably very
Now.
different than Sex and the City.
Yeah.
I've been a very devoted fan to Star Trek my entire life.
Really?
So, yeah.
You're a Trekkie.
Oh, absolutely. And so so there's new stuff being done now, and so
What do you think about that?
I'm glad they're continuing to do it, but it's very controversial. People have different feelings on
Yeah,
Trek.
they
So
do.
I tend to like what I see. I like Discovery. That may be very controversial.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I'm glad they're still doing it because it's great, it's entertaining, and I think it expresses really important ideas. Yeah.
Now, who's your favorite captain?
Ooh, Picard.
Picard.
Yeah, he's well-rounded.
Really?
He's a diplomat. He's a soldier.
He's got an English accent.
He spoke with a great accent. He's a good leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Picard's my favorite.
Picard is your favorite.
Yeah.
Funny.
Although Pike's pretty wonderful, and he's
Okay.
got really good hair. So we'll check it out.
Okay, now
Now.
back to Sex and the City.
All right. Yeah.
Who's your favorite character?
Oh, you asked me this before.
I did
and
before we were on camera.
Yes, you did. It can change, but generally Charlotte. Yeah.
Why Charlotte?
I think she. I like the fact that she cares a lot about art. That's cool. I think that she is. I think she makes good decisions.
Okay.
And I think she expresses sort of an innocence, which is very different than the other three
Yeah.
characters. So
Yeah. I got so tickled when I saw on your Facebook, we're Facebook friends.
Yeah.
So I saw on your Facebook page that you said all 6 seasons
Yes.
are now available
True.
on Netflix.
Yep.
And this is not a plug for that.
Yeah.
But I was just tickled by it.
Yeah.
I was just tickled by it. Well, Rabbi, is there anything that we haven't discussed? Let me talk about the
Sure.
elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Which was, we did not talk about Israel and Palestine and the Gaza Strip.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that you did not want to discuss, and I understood why.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention that's why
Sure.
we're not talking about
Sure.
it, because you preferred not to.
Yeah. It's a little complicated to cover
Sure.
in this space. Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah. But I will say that I pray, my community prays, every time we gather for Shabbat, we pray for those.
And for those who don't know, Shabbat
is a Sabbath, and we begin Sabbath on Friday evening, and it continues until sundown on Saturday. And we pray for those who have been injured in defense of the state of Israel. We also pray for those innocent non-combatants who have been injured in Gaza or in any war. And it's very, very Israel is very, very important to us, but we're also praying for peace.
Yeah.
That's really I think that's one thing that everyone can agree on, is we want peace.
Yeah. What a perfect note to end on. Rabbi, thank you so much for coming into the studio. It was a joy to talk with you. It goes by quickly.
It sure does. Great. Well, thanks so much, Stephanie. It's been really great to be with you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for tuning in, and be blessed.